Okay, hey guys. So today's going to be a live stream covering how to start a grocery delivery business. This applies to actually even just how to start a business general and how to start Dumpling as well. So it kind of covers all of that kind of information. It is going to be kind of a long live stream, but it's going to encompass a lot of things. Some of the topics that I'm going to cover in this video are topics that I will also post additionally, like as its own separate topics. I already have one video up on how to succeed. My next video is branding, and I think the next video is how to price. So some of these things I will cover. And obviously I'll have videos that will go more into depth. Those videos will be posted once a week for at least 2 to 3 months. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. So the first part's gonna be me actually, saying what I recommend, what I think is proper, what I think you should do. And then the second part is gonna be answering some of your guys' questions that you guys have asked me. All right, so the first part is, how do you get customers? Okay, so topic number one, we'll discover and we'll unveil how to get customers. So the thing with customers is your very first customers should be friends and family who are actually supposed to support you. Now, I understand that some people are more popular than others, but I feel like everyone should at least have 2 or 3 people who they're friends with that can support them. And if that person's not willing to support you, then yeah, I don't know about that. So how your friends could help you is because they know you, they trust you, and they know you and they trust you, so their support is more genuine than you asking a stranger to do it for you. Another good thing about them is when you tell them to share your proposal or to share your company or to share your ideas, you can also give them an incentive of, okay, well, if you share, I could do this for you. I could offer you a discount, or I could offer you a code. I could offer you something on the side for helping me. So that's why it's really important. I mean, this is kind of a sidebar, but it's important for you to have a group of people who you can network with. Not just be that type of person that only calls people and uses them to get stuff out of them, but if you're generally a good person who supports people and who people like to be around, if you're not a flaky person, you should at least have 1, 2, or 3 people who could help support and advertise your business. And that's how you know this is not an MLM, because with an MLM, what do they tell you? They tell you to go and scope 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people who you talked to on Facebook a long time ago. But with this, you actually want to scope people of quality who you know can actually support, advertise, and share your business or your company. So those are your first group of customers. Second would be social media. And there's 2 options in this. It's either with your social media posts, like actually creating a social media account, and then there are actual like groups. So Facebook groups, I personally like Facebook groups because when you go on these groups, let me just show you guys how many groups I'm in. I'm in at least like 100 groups. All right. So I don't think you guys could see this. Okay. Can you guys see this? Okay. So these are how many groups I'm in on Facebook. Okay. So that's a lot of groups. And the good thing about being in groups, or like you need a social media in general, but the good thing about, I guess, in Facebook is being able to, you could actually either use your personal to advertise, you could also have a page for your business, and you could also either use your business page or your page to actually interact with members of these groups. So you could go to local mom groups, you can go to community groups, you can go to church groups, you can go to, maybe if you have kids, your kids' school groups. When you're in those groups and when you're active, not overly active, but at least if people know who who you are, if they've seen you before or seen your name before, it'll be easy for you to advertise. Also, if you're cool with the moderators and the admins of these groups, who knows? You could ask them, hey, like, can I just plug myself in? And why wouldn't they say no? Okay, so having those groups, that is another way of potentially getting customers. So your friends or your friends on Facebook who are in these groups can also potentially be your customers as well. Oh, okay. Another way of getting customers is through gigs. So obviously, like, some people are still on the other platforms. I have absolutely nothing wrong with you being in the platforms. I don't think it's wrong at all. I think it's smart to actually also use these platforms to try to get some of those customers and steal some of those customers. Now, when you're doing this, if you actually want to do it in an ethically way, like if you care about not getting deactivated, an ethical way of actually getting customers through doing some of these other gigs is to actually print out business cards and flyers. And when you actually go and do your delivery, you put your business cards and flyers in their neighbors' houses. So if you're like in a condo, let's say you're delivering to someone on the 6th unit, like the 6th floor of the 6th unit, then you just hand out all those flyers. Like if you have the door flyers, those are really good, or you just put the flyers in front of their houses or their mailboxes, whatever. You just cover a vicinity of people who are your neighbors to the person who you're delivering to. That is a really good tactic on how to get more customers. Now this other way, so I covered way one, which is through your friends. They should be your first customer. Friends, people who you know, possibly work associates, they should be your customers for number one. Two would be social media, so your actual social media page, and then social media platforms such as Facebook groups, Instagram groups, pages, TikTok, whatever, those type of ways. Number three, I said you could also use gigs as a way of getting customers. Number four is contacting businesses. All right, this is where the big bucks are. Okay, so when I mean businesses, I don't mean obviously customers who live in their houses. I mean establishments, okay? I mean hotels, resorts, motels, group homes, nursing homes, shelters. Those are just a couple examples, maybe even restaurants, but those are just a couple examples of businesses. And the reason why scoping other businesses is actually important is because when you scope other businesses, you're able to draft a contract, which a contract doesn't have to be super fancy. There are templates on how to do contracts online. So you have the option of actually having these contracts. And some of these contracts do require commission plans, some of them don't. That kind of more so depends on the actual business establishment and you. That depends on the conversation that you have with them. But I mean, the good thing about business is most businesses need groceries, whether it be groceries, flowers, Christmas trees, whatever you're delivering, because it doesn't even just have to be groceries. They need those things to be delivered mostly on a weekly, monthly, sometimes even on a daily basis. So I feel like businesses are honestly where a lot of the money are, and they are harder to scope out and get. But the more that you establish yourself, the more that you make a name for yourself, it actually is something that is a possibility. And I know in the beginning it does seem kind of scary, but to be honest, that is honestly where the money is, because I really need a drink of water, but I'm gonna finish this point before I get some water, because with a customer, they're going to pay you with a one-time cash or debit transaction. But with the business, you could actually have a plan where you might do like 4 or 5 deliveries in a month. They're not going to pay you each single time you get there, but at the end of the month, they're going to give you a lump sum payment. And with businesses, because of nobody's trying to get sued, blah, 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 you know they're going to pay you, right? You already know that they're going to pay you. So I feel like doing business with businesses is a little bit easier than doing it with customers. Of course you need residential customers who live at homes, but I feel like if you want to take it to the next level, try and see if you can contact certain businesses. All right, I really need to drink water, guys. I needed a drink of water before this, but I thought, hey, you know what, I could just do this. But now that I'm looking at the time, my throat is so dry. And I'm actually so embarrassed about this, but I'm honestly just gonna take a drink of water. Do I have something to play in the background? No. Okay, guys, I promise you guys I'll be really quick. I'm just gonna take a drink of water and I'll be right back. I'm so sorry. Okay, guys, I'm really sorry about that. I really am so sorry about that. I really couldn't take it. Okay. All right, so that was point number 4, right? So point number 5, we're still on the customers part. We're still on the main topic we're talking about is how to get customers, right? So point number 5 is sell your business pitch at these businesses. So when you get there, that is basically how you could practice your pitch. Your pitch to a business will be different from a pitch to an individual customer. And the pitch may include a contract. Usually how it goes is you actually just go to the place. Sorry, I drank too much water. I had to take a little burp. So usually with businesses, you honestly just have your pitch first. You don't just go to business. You can have a contract with you, but normally with businesses, you don't just go in there and then talk to them and they'll be like, hey, yeah, sure, we'll work with you, no problem. Usually you go there, you say your sales pitch. They usually say, we'll think about it, or we'll talk to the boss or the manager. And then like they'll actually have you come in again with an actual like plan or meeting to actually sit down and listen to what you say. So that is what you have to understand when you are pitching your business to other businesses. And one of the selling points, I did cover this in my first video, is relationship, security, and consistency. So selling point when you're doing your own grocery delivery or dumpling, your selling point to actually tell these people, wait, why do I have to go with you? I'm actually better than the competition because I can provide a relationship with you. I can provide a relationship with you and our third-party customer. All right. Another thing is security. You know who I am. Okay. You have accountability. I have accountability. You'll always know who is taking care of what and who's doing what. So you have accountability. You have trust. And there's also consistency. You can also say like, unlike these other companies, there is no consistency because there's always a different person handling orders. Usually there is, for the most part, especially if they're using these type of services in big areas, right? So there is a consistency with me because me or someone in my team, we're smaller and we all go through the same training process, the same vetting process. We all care about what we're doing. We're doing this for a passion. We're not doing this just for the dollar. So because of accountability, consistency, and the relationship, I am a much better candidate and it's actually safer. And if you're dealing with a nursing home and a shelter, for example, that is a huge selling point that you could say that there's actually a lot of consistency and security in using my services as opposed to using someone else's. So that is what you could say in your business pitch. Okay, for number six is networking, and this will happen later on. This will not happen when you're just starting, so it's not something to worry about right now, but it is something that you should look forward to doing. Networking is basically, right now, at least because of the pandemic, some networking events are happening through Zoom. They're obviously not as effective as doing physical networking platforms such as fashion shows, events, parties, mixers. They're not as effective, but networking is very important because recently, I'll give an example. Not recently, why do I use the word recently a lot when it doesn't apply, but when was this? I think it was October of last year. Me and my team we were invited to a fashion show. And at first I was thinking, I'm not going to no fashion show. I don't care about fashion. Like, what does fashion have to do with me? But later on, I actually sat down and realized, oh, I'm not going to the fashion show to watch the fashion show. I'm going to the fashion show to see who I could talk to. We're going to the fashion show to see if they're like-minded individuals. We're going to fashion show to see if we can get influencers, if we get people who have very, very high numbers on their social media, and see if they could either do a referral for us, shout us out, or if there are like just people of other businesses who are doing the exact same thing, who we can be friends with, who we can be invited to more events and meet more people, vice versa. One important point when you are thinking of networking is influencers. Nowadays, I think the lines are very blurred. Someone doesn't have to be verified on Instagram or Twitter to be an influencer. They could just have a very high social media count. So someone like that is someone who you want to scope, and obviously them doing the referral or shouting your company out, you usually do have to either incentivize them by giving them a discount off of your service, or it could be maybe you giving it to them for free at a discount. I don't really know. It just depends on you and that kind of structure and that kind of conversation that you have that person, whatever you think is more beneficial. But influencers are very important. With grocery delivery, I think that you can scope out a couple of influencers. You definitely can. It's obviously easier for a certain product, like if you're selling eyelashes, if you're selling soap, you just give it to them. With grocery delivery, it's a little different, but influencers still are very important. So if you are in a position where maybe you're friends with one or you could scope one out, that would do a lot of good for your business or your company, especially on advertising. Okay, so point number 7, we're still on customers. Geez, I need to be a little faster. All right, so point number 7 is when you're physically at the store, that's when you could kind of like do a sales pitch to the customer. This one is something that I think it just depends on you. I'm not gonna lie, I personally don't use number 7 a lot, but there is someone, I'll link his channel down below. His name is Speedy Shop. Well, his company name is Speedy Shopper, and he actually goes through the whole process of how he does that, how he physically talks to customers and gets them at the actual grocery store. So that is a good method as well. Okay, so my favorite part of this whole whatever you call this training session is branding. Branding is extremely important. Okay. When you think about Nike, what do you think about? You think about the word Nike, but you also think about the check mark, right? That's how amazing branding is. You also want to kind of get the same results. Let me give you an example. I was just speaking about Speedy Shopper. So let me give an example. Okay, so that's his page. As you can see, that's his logo, his name, or his company's name. And yeah, this is his Instagram page. This is his logo. All right, he's in California, Orange County, so hit him up if you're around there. And you know what? He has a YouTube page as well. I'll link it down below. He has the whole system down packed. Okay. All right. That is amazing. And then there's another one as well, but I'll link her in a minute. A lot of people, what they tend to do, especially when they're in this industry, is they use their first and last name as either their company name, or they don't even have a company name. They just go by their first and last name. Doing that, I don't think is bad, but I don't think it's great or even good. Okay, eventually I feel like if you really want to get out there, that you're going to have to change that, personally. And the reason why is there's multiple reasons. Number one is professionalism. All right, not saying that your first and last name aren't professional, but I mean, in some spaces, if you really want to be taken seriously, having your name and your first name and last name as your company name, or not even having one in the first place, can be a little confusing. Okay, so that's what I mean by unprofessional. Number two is it can be confusing, because if you have a popular name, like let's say your name is Elizabeth Smith, how many Elizabeth Smiths are there in the world? Okay, if someone does a Google search of you, okay, because it's your company, you don't have a company name, or your company name for whatever reason is Elizabeth Smith, do you know how many people are going to show up in a Google, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter search, Facebook, especially Facebook? Do you know how many people of that name are going to come up? You don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want that. That's why you want a name that's creative, and you also want a name that is not too long and easy to remember. Okay, so if your name is Elizabeth's Grocery, there's nothing wrong with that name, but I just think the Elizabeth, it doesn't need to be there. Do you get what I'm saying? So with really creative names, if you've got noticed, a lot of these apps and even some of these companies that are outside and have their own websites, these independent grocery companies, a lot of the keywords that they have, I actually wrote them down, is cart, shopper, grocery, aisle, lane, and checkout. Those are a lot of the names that they have. Not saying that you have to put any of those words in your company name, but using some of those prefixes, using some of those words in your company name is a very good idea, because that helps with your brand identity. That helps. If someone sees cart, shopper, grocery aisle, or whatever in your company's name, they kind of already get a gist of what it's about, right? So, I mean, it doesn't have to be like that, but I think that would be the ideal plan and the ideal model to think about for a name. All right. Yes, if you have a memorable and creative name, that also helps with your logo. All right. Having a logo is very important. Is it absolute? I would say yes. I would argue yes. If you think of Instacart, you think of Shipt, you think of Corner Shop, you think of all of these companies, they all have a logo. And usually with grocery delivery, the logo is tied to either an actual like grocery item or the cart. So you definitely want to, they don't do that just because. There's a purpose and there's a reason why they do that, and it's very effective and it works. So you definitely want to make sure that you have a name if you don't already have one, and not go by your actual first or last name. And you want to also make sure that you have a good logo. It definitely goes well with your brand. Also, with having a good logo, that helps when you eventually decide to make a shirt. Okay, that is something that is not required, I'll say not required, but it is very recommended, because if you could go out and you already have your name and you have your logo on your shirt, that helps with your brand identity. That helps with your awareness. People will look at you and they'll see that. Some people will probably wonder, like, what is that? And the more people see it, the more they get used to it. They see it online, and then all of a sudden they see it in a grocery store. Some people will kind of get to know. All right. So yeah, that's very important. Okay. How do you get a logo? Well, you can design one. You can get like a freelance person to do it on Fiverr. I say this all the time, guys. My YouTube logo, it just says Deb. It's not like very good, but I got about 5 or 6 different types of logos for $7. So this was included in a bundle of like 5, 6 logos, and I got that on Fiverr for $7. Someone did it for me. They literally did it in 12 hours. My other company logo I got on Fiverr for $20. So Fiverr is your best friend. If you want to actually design your own logo, you can go on Canva. Canva is a website. It's also an app. They have a lot of like design templates for if you're doing logos or just a whole bunch of like stuff. I suck at graphic design, so I was like, nah, I'm just gonna pay someone to do it. But if you actually like that kind of stuff or you have that talent, you could go to Canva. And then thirdly, if none of those options are appealing to you, you could just Google someone to actually design your logo for you. Like, let's say for whatever reason, you just want to shell out on a spectacular logo, you can just Google someone. All right. Already said get a t-shirt. It's professional advertising marketing. Okay, yes, car magnets. This goes with your branding. I do recommend car magnets that actually have your company logo, your name possibly, but most importantly, your phone number. The reason why I think car idea is because if you go to the store and you're parked there, guess what? People see your company name, they see the logo, good look. When you're also delivering the items, or if you're going somewhere else and you just have the car magnets on, but let's go when you're delivering the items, your neighbors, I mean, not your neighbors, their neighbors will see your company on your car logo. So that's like advertising 101 right there. And then if you go to other places of business, you're driving around, other people may see that. So that is just free marketing. That is obviously much better than wrapping your car, because who has time for that? Like, if you're not rich, you're not going to wrap your car, right? So, and actually magnets, I'm shocked, but magnets are actually not expensive at all. Okay, you guys see this, right? So this one is $14.05, and then the biggest one, okay, well, is $36.55, and then like the middle one is $27.17. So they're not extremely like expensive either. Like, they're economical, they're doable. So, all right. So that was branding. So we covered having a good logo, we covered the name, we covered like some of the recommended things that you should have in your name, we covered car magnets, we covered your t-shirt, how to get a logo, and yeah, so we covered that for branding. Am I missing something? Oh, okay, I did miss a point. Okay, just to kind of piggy off of what I said about why you don't want to use your first or last name, or why you don't want to not have a company name, especially starting out. You and I were not Kylie Jenner, okay? We don't come from a rich family, or maybe you come from a rich family, but we don't come from a famous family where our names could just do it for us. We need to actually have a company name, because our name itself is not going to get us anywhere. Like I said, if you have a really popular name, that's not going to get you anywhere. You have an ethnic name that no one can remember, or not a lot of people can remember, that's not going to get you anywhere. But if you have a name like Speedy Shopper, if you have a name like Busy Bee Shopping, That's going to get you somewhere, okay? Even with Busy Bee Shopping, let me actually show you guys. And these are companies who they just started, okay? Busy Bee Shopping, she's on Facebook. She is on Dumpling as well. So the reason why I like her branding and I like her company is because, let me stop the screen, is because even if you forget Busy Bee Shopping, you remember the bee, right? You remember the bee, like, so that's what we want. Am I missing anything else on here? No. Okay, so if you are doing Dumpling, the Dumpling website is not enough because it's just a little description. You need a little bit more. So you are ahead than everyone else in the fact that you do have a website, but that website is not sufficient enough. You still need a social media page. You still need a social media platform. Now, can you use your actual personal page? So let's use Instagram as an example. Can you use your personal Instagram as your company social media page? You can. I'd say the only reason to really do that is if you have a lot of followers, then that's very advantageous for you. But if you don't have a lot of followers like myself, okay, you don't have a lot of followers, at least on your personal page, then you definitely want to make a secondary business page. You definitely want to do that. Can you mix both of them? It depends, but I would say at least always have like a secondary page, okay? If you have a lot of followers on your regular personal page, I feel like turning that into a business page might be confusing. You still want to make sure you have a personal page, but if you don't have a lot of followers and you're thinking about doing that, why would you do that, right? So yeah, you always, I think, should at least have a secondary page for your business. Okay, pricing. Pricing is a little important. Now with pricing, how it works is you usually start from average, which means regular, economical, which is cheap, luxury, which is expensive. So how you do it is you usually look at your competition and then you gauge. You think, okay, what do I want to be? And this is very important. You actually have to figure out if you want to be average, if you want to be the cheaper option, or if you want to be the most expensive option out there. You have to actually ask yourself that question. Okay, it is important because let's say if you're flaky, right? And you're like, you know what, I could be all of the above. Like I could just change my prices all the time. That can backfire on you because if I charge someone, I don't have set prices, right? I charge someone $30 because I like them. And I charge someone $50 and then I charge someone, I don't know, let's say $45. If they come to know, or if they come to know, or if anything like that, that could actually backfire on you. You don't want to seem like you're showing favoritism. I remember in the beginning I was talking about like best friends or your friends being your customers or getting social media people to refer you. That is not favoritism. That's actually they're helping you out. They're advertising your business. So you're blessing them for them blessing you. Like you're helping them out because they're helping you out. But if I give a random person a different price from someone else, that's going to cause, in the beginning, no one might know, but in the end, I feel like that will cause some kind of backlash, and that's definitely not something you want to do. So you definitely want to be careful with pricing. Look at your competition, gauge, do I want to be average, expensive, luxury, or do I just want to be like a cheaper option? Oh, and then also I will post a video on why I don't lower prices and why I don't offer discounts. I'll post a video on that. That will probably be in 2 or 3 weeks. I already filmed that video, but I'll post it later on because that is going to be about, covering more about prices. Wow, I've never talked so much. Okay, so for payment options, you don't have to worry about this if you're in Dumpling. But if you're doing your regular grocery delivery business, for payment options, I'd say don't really worry so much about it, because I personally recommend Square, but I feel like as you go along, you'll figure out what works out for you. So I don't think you really need to worry about that so much. Just know that the options are endless and you could do a whole bunch. But for payment, yeah, definitely don't even worry about it. Have like a few set ways of doing it, and then you could change that later on, but don't let that stretch you. Don't let it stress you at all. Okay, so now let's get into materials, okay? So materials that you'll need to get started: you need a wagon cart for heavy items, you'll need insulated bags, you'll need flyers for your business. Oh, okay, I did say you do need business cards. Another option is possibly digital business cards. So if you don't know what that is, you could definitely look it up on Google. Digital business cards are business cards that are like digital, like you could put it on a phone, a tablet, whatever, like, yeah, not on an actual piece of paper. So those are some pretty good options. There are pros and cons with that. Like I said, you could Google it, but you know what? I'll just say one thing. For digital business cards, you usually do have to either have the person's phone number or email to send it through them. So that's kind of like the riskier part of it. So for digital business cards, it does kind of depend on your niche, okay? So that's all I'll say for that. Optional, not required in the beginning, but maybe something you could think about in the end, is a separate email. Yes, you can actually rent an email mailbox. Okay, so you can rent an email domain. Okay, so if your company is called Speedy Shopper, you could actually rent a domain that has the @ at speedyshopper.com. So that's an option that you could do. One website that that is Canva. You can also have a separate line. Again, in the beginning, not required, but as you go on, that may be something that you want, maybe for security purposes and peace of mind. You don't want like random people bringing you. Okay, I did say car magnets. And do you want to be an LLC or sole proprietorship? In the beginning, I don't think you have to even worry about that, especially in some states. Becoming an LLC are very, very expensive, like California. Big mess. But do you want to be an LLC or sole proprietorship? I'll quickly run through the pros and cons very quickly, I promise. So with LLC, you have an EIN. I'm probably saying that wrong. Yeah, I think it's called an EIN. Anyways, that basically means that when you're filing taxes, your business taxes or your business income is separate from your personal income. So your business income has its own thing, and your personal income will have its own thing. But if you're a sole proprietorship, your business income is tied to your personal income. So what this means basically is if you're a sole proprietorship, you'll use your social security number to file for taxes and to file for a whole bunch of things, like register a whole bunch of things. But when you're LLC, you'll actually have a business number, like an actual separate number. A lot of people prefer LLCs when they're doing any type of business because it literally says in the name, limited liability, right? They're limited liability, like it's just easier. It's a peace of mind. The LLC acts as its own person, technically. But with sole proprietorship, a lot of things are tied to you. So that's just brief. You don't have to worry about that so much in the beginning and the end. It could be something that you can consider. All right. So basically, overall, how expensive is this? I'd say it ranges from $300 to $500. The main thing probably being, see, the car magnet I showed you guys, it's literally like what, 15, probably. Maybe if you live in a bad area, or sorry, a more expensive area, it could probably be around like $40 for a car magnet. Business cards cost, they're really cheap now actually. Like you can get like 500 for $20, $30. It really depends. You don't even have to get them from like Staples or those big stores. You can actually go to Google, get some third-party company to also make them for you, so they're actually pretty cheap. What are even the biggest expenses? I would say nothing. It's really not that expensive, and honestly, most people who are starting their own grocery delivery business already have insulated bags. They already have wagons. I'd say if you're delivering to businesses, you might just want to get some extra equipment, but to start off, you don't really need much. I'd say that going later on, what will cost you a lot of money is actually just registering your business, possibly. All right, so that is all I say for housekeeping part for the notes that I wrote down. Now I'm going to quickly answer some of your guys' questions. So the questions that you sent me are here. Oh my gosh. All right, so someone asked location. I want to do Dumpling, but no one in my area knows about it. So I guess like no one's on the app. Yeah, that does happen. What I would say is you don't have to completely give up on the idea of Dumpling, but in that case, don't worry so much about converting the customers onto the app. If they just want you to grocery shop for them, just grocery shop for them. That's literally it. Don't worry so much about putting people on the app. I feel like in a perfect world, people would say that, but that's kind of a utopia because that is a waste of time. It's a little bit of a waste of time. Just shop for them over and over, and then if a opportunity comes up where you could actually sell them on being on the app, go ahead. But then if you're already shopping for them and you're not getting those, like you're not charging them those extra fees and Dumpling's not taking a cut, then why would you do that, right? So that's not the be all end all. Again, if you're in an area where there aren't people on the Dumpling app, I wouldn't say give up, but it's dependent on, do you still want to use the platform, which you absolutely don't have to, or do you want to go independent, like even more independent? Like you have to kind of make a decision, but either way, I don't think that if there are no people on the Dumpling platform that you can't be successful even outside of it. I believe in it all. I believe in it all. I don't believe that even if you're just doing Dumpling, that you just have to do Dumpling and that's it. I believe that you could do all these gigs. Well, not really, but I believe that you could do Dumpling and not do it on the side. I believe that you cannot do it on the side and then also do Dumpling. Like you could be your own grocery delivery business company, whatever, and then also do Dumpling, which is why I mentioned before that it's a good idea if you have something other than the Dumpling website, because then you'll get customers who obviously don't use Dumpling but want to use your services, right? So not a big deal. And again, I know quite a few people who are doing Instacart and Dumpling and they like having both options, so don't give up on that. Okay, yeah, there was someone saying that they live in a small town and they're kind of nervous about doing this. I'd say if you live in a small town, not really forget about Dumpling. Like you'd still be on the platform, but think about more so like being extremely 100% independent, because I feel like small towns have something called a small town advantage, and that small town advantage is what big cities don't have. And what I mean by that is, with a small town, y'all went to school together, y'all went to the same church, mosque, whatever, prayer area, same school, everybody knows each other's moms, dads, pops, whatever. Everybody knows each other in a small town, right? So what you have as an advantage is they actually know you, okay? They know you. They know your grandparents. They know you, okay? So because they know you, they're loyal. They're actually more likely to be loyal because of that, because you were their best friend in high school. With a big city, you can't really get that. Nobody knows you. But with a small town, it's actually easier to penetrate and be the only company there and to actually grow big, because guess what? Everyone knows each other. Everyone talks to each other. Everyone recommends. You'll obviously do a phenomenal job because most people will like you. So everyone will recommend you. Even if they don't like you, they'll bring you up. So yeah, small town advantage. I don't fall asleep on small towns. Next thing is metropolitan area. So like a city like Toronto, where you have a whole bunch of awesome, really cool, rich people, who live in condos that pay like $3,000, $4,000 of rent every month, but usually don't have cars. Those are perfect areas to actually scope out, because you have an area that has a lot of people that require services like this. Like, they like fancy services, they like things like this. You go and do one delivery, then you have a condo where you could literally hand out bunches of flyers, okay? If you want to take it a step further, if you're able to, you could also talk to the apartment owner of the condo, talk to them about if you could advertise your services, if they could have your services on their weekly community boards, as some places have. Boom, boom. So metropolitan areas are also pretty good. Like, I would even say, if you're able to, please do a little bit of research. But if you're able to see if the metropolitan area works for you, that might be even better than wasting so much time on trying to conquer a suburban area. All right. All right, so next thing is, oh, okay, so this person's saying that they're trying to figure out a niche. So with a niche, however you say it, with a niche, it's extremely important, but with that, you have to figure out, am I trying to target everybody? So am I like a Walmart who I want everyone to come in, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, it like doesn't matter of anything? Or do you want to be a certain niche? A certain niche could be like a grocery delivery company that only delivers organic food, for instance, okay, or only vegetarian food, for instance. Will that work out? I have no idea. I don't know. But if that's their niche, then that's their niche. Okay, you can see that some businesses and some companies, they only targeting a certain wave or demographic of people, right? Maybe that might be too radical, but who knows? Maybe in like 30, 40, okay, like 20 years, having a company that only serves vegetarian or delivers vegetarian or organic food won't be so outside of the box, because there'll be a big enough group of people who believe in that and who live that way, right? Also, having a niche or understanding your niches is extremely important, because if you're trying to deliver it to everyone, that's fine, but you need to have certain ads, okay? You need to have certain ads, certain posts, certain campaigns that target different groups of people, okay? So if your posts are very generic, I don't see anything wrong with that, but I would say at certain times, like, no, what I mean is, if your posts are very generic, that can be okay. But I think that sometimes if your posts are too narrow, that could be a problem. Like, if you're only posting things that you think young moms would relate to, how about everyone else? Okay, if you're only posting things that relate to like elderly people, but you say that you deliver and target everyone, that's a problem. So understanding your niches, and also understanding how to target everyone and everyone equally, and also making sure every group has enough shine, is also extremely important. All right. I did that. Okay. I have someone who said they're still doing gigs. Okay, so right here said that they're still doing gigs. Ooh, we can definitely make this in an hour. That's great. Okay, so we have someone who says that they're still doing gigs. I have absolutely nothing wrong with gigs, okay? This person said, Instacart. Okay, I have nothing wrong with gigs. Don't hate Instacart. Okay, I do not absolutely despise that company, but the job itself is amazing. Listen, money is money. I don't care. Okay, you shouldn't care either. So that's why I'm like, you know what? If I think Dumpling, their terms of service doesn't say anything. You can only use Dumpling if you're working. It says you can't advertise other, I think it, well, actually I didn't read that, but I'm pretty sure it says that you can't ever advertise other services on the platform. I don't know, can you do that or not? I'm not sure, but I know with Instacart and Shift, they say that you can't like advertise other services when you're doing that, right? But if you're not and you're following the rules, there's no issue why you can't do multiple in all three. As I mentioned before, if I'm doing an Instacart order, okay, but I have my own business, I have my own company, and I'm handing out my flyers to that person's neighbors, I'm not breaking their rule. So I have no issue with you doing gigs. I think gigs are the best teachers. Okay, I think they're awesome. I think everyone who is thinking about doing dumpling or grocery delivery should absolutely hop onto those gig platforms. They're amazing teachers. They teach you a lot. A, I just burped. A lot. Where do you think I got half of this information from? I got half of this information from, obviously, doing other business, but some of this information on, like what I said in my very first video, how to succeed on dumpling. No, not my first, my second video in my dumpling series, how to succeed on dumpling. I got all of that from doing Instacart. I got all of that from doing Instacart. I understood that, hey, this is the difference between grocery delivering, dumpling, and Shift and Instacart. I understood that from doing those gigs. Had I not done those gigs, I wouldn't have known that. So definitely, I think that gigs are the best teachers. And to be honestly, I don't think that you should sell yourself short, okay? If you're making it by doing Instacart and dumpling, I don't see an issue with that. If you're making it by doing independent and occasionally going on dumpling or Instacart, I don't see anything wrong with that either. I really don't. Just make sure that when you're on dumpling or you're doing your own grocery delivery service, that you do way better than when you're on Instacart or Shipt, right? Like make sure that there's a difference. But other than that, I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. Okay, and lastly, I'll end with basically what I said in my very second video and kind of segueing into what I just mentioned. Your selling point should always be that your relationship, that is your selling point. Unlike these other gig companies, your advantage is that you can have a relationship with a customer. When you're shopping on Instacart, Corner Shop, Shipt, you usually tend to only text the customer when you're shopping for them. After the drop off, you don't really contact them at all, right? But when you're doing this, you can actually build a relationship with a customer. You can actually get to know them, get to even just ask them questions, and you potentially shopping with them again and again and again. That is a relationship. That is definitely a relationship. And obviously, if they're very blown away by how you do things, your customer service, the fact that you have all your stuff in your insulated bags, the fact that you offer them anything else at the store that they didn't put on their list, but something that you think that would be good for them because you know them or you know a little bit of a background on them, that's something that other platforms can't offer. So that is definitely your selling point. And yeah, I'm going to end this video there. I've never did a live stream this long, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys like this info, please help me out by liking this video. You could also comment any questions that you have. Again, I'll link the pages of the people who Instagram and YouTube I went on. Also, if you guys don't mind subscribing to your girl, that would help me out a lot. But if you guys have any questions, please let me know. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you already subscribed, thank you for being a part of the family. And yeah, guys, just believe in yourself, do whatever you want, and don't limit yourself, okay? If you guys have noticed, I'm trying to tell you guys, like, don't limit yourself to one thing. If dumpling isn't working out, I wouldn't say like delete app and be like, screw it. Like I said that a couple of weeks ago, like screw dumpling. No, don't do that. Just understand that it may not be your time, but But if you really want to do grocery delivery, go for it. Go for it. If you have to do 2, 3 apps before you get there, go for it. Never limit yourself and always think higher. And I'm going to stop talking. Have a nice day, guys. Bye.